Yes. Okay. So I actually first trained as a coach quite a long time ago, 15 years ago. My undergraduate degree, a very long time ago, is in fact in psychology. And, moving abroad, I kind of got away from that. And it's actually only quite recently that I've come back to that at a higher level for studying and looking to make it more of a focus in my own work. And you mentioned on a lot of different things here, so we might have to go step by step. Uh, Obviously, as a woman, as a self-employed woman, uh, gender in the workplace is something I have dealt with in my own life. As a former performer, it's kind of rhymes, as a former performer, I have definitely dealt with it. I am not actively performing in music myself right now, but there was a time when I was very active. And I think back on that time, which was primarily when I was in my 20s, up until the age of 29, 30. And then I kind of I came back to it. But at that first time, I look back now and I realized, although I was the person writing the song, so I was the songwriter, I was the music composer, I was the singer, and there were four of us in the band, me and another woman and two men, and the two guys in the band, and no shade on them, but they pretty much made all of the business decisions. And even though I was the I would say the talent and the artistic driver behind the whole project, I didn't have a voice. And that is partly definitely my own fault because I don't think I had the confidence then. Well, I definitely didn't have the confidence. That is absolutely sure. And partly because a lot of those tasks, those leadership tasks are not always the fun tasks when you go into art because you love dance, you love music, you have the talent, you have the drive. And generally you don't have the drive. Not many people have the drive to, go and find the gigs, go and negotiate this. That's not the fun stuff. So it's quite easy to sit back and let somebody take it on. However, when you do so, you are outsourcing your power in terms of where the visibility, especially the money, uh, all of that comes from, and it's very hard to sustain it without going. I feel like I'm going off topic, but realizing that now, looking at myself as a young performer, uh, yeah, we definitely need coaches, mentors, support for young women because if not, somebody else takes on that role. You don't even realize it until it's probably, I don't want to be grim, but almost too late. And I think there's a lot there too to unpack. At the core, a mentoring relationship, I believe, is having an experienced person in your corner who has perhaps walked that path, and they are giving you out and out advice and guidance as to what you could be or should be doing in any one moment. That is very different than a coaching relationship, which is very much about figuring out certain things out for yourself. And so I think in this case, a mentor, being mentored by somebody who you can bring your concerns to, your worries, or even just tell them, hey, that's what's going on. Because if you haven't done it before, you might not even flag those things as possibly problematic, or you may not even realize where you are perhaps giving away your power. And I think somebody who's been through that and has taken on the role of a mentor to you can say, okay, wait, stop. You're going to go record this thing or you're going to sign this agreement to perform here. Let's have a look at it and let me, no, without telling you what you need to do, let me give you some perspective from the other side of it, somebody who's been there and done that. And I think that's incredibly valuable. That's an interesting question because I could come up with a moment, but having said that, I also think that it's never just one, at least in my case, it's something I've inched towards over many, many different experiences, both my own experience in terms of what I've been through, work experience. I was working, for example, not in the performing arts, but as a mentor and coach for teachers for a number of years who were having extremely difficult not difficult. They were having problems in the classroom, or I was like identify a need, and I would go in and I would observe them and I would work with them and stuff. And teaching is primarily a woman-based subject. Sorry, not subject. What's the word I'm looking for? Profession. Excuse me. Women is are make up the majority of teachers. And so that was part of it because it's a different type of conversation you might have often with women than men, who can often be very much action oriented. Um, uh, so that was certainly a part of it. But I would say the pivotal moment where I thought, hey, you know what? I would really like to put this all together. I can see that there is something here on a lot of different levels. And that was during one of the courses on my master's degree called Individual Wellbeing. And it was a very interesting course. We looked at many things, and I ended up writing a paper about individual well-being from this multicultural perspective. And it's kind of funny because uh, I woke up one morning with this idea in my head. I don't know if you ever had this. You just wake up with something that's so clear in your mind. And I had woken up with this very clear idea of what I wanted to do. And I remember grabbing a pen and paper and sketching out this picture. And I just was like madly writing. And then I went back to sleep. Luckily, when I woke up again, it still made sense. I'm like, you know what? This could really be the seed of a program. And since then, it's I've been developing, and a lot more has gone on to it. But I would say, yeah, something in that moment just clicked for me that this was what I wanted to do, and this is what I could offer, and that it would be valuable. And of course, you have to do the research. Yeah, is it really valuable? Is there a need? There's a lot of back work that also goes into this, but I truly believe so. And the same as for coaching as for mentoring. It would need to be defined, like what is that particular area of mentorship. I have my areas of strength. I am not working right now in the performing arts, and where I live now, that is a structure that is very much publicly funded. Now, because this is an area that I would not be the best mentor for because I don't know my way around it. I'm not working in it. So in terms of mentorship, my area is very clearly, you know, cultural and psychology based, not so much, how do I get a grant or how do I do that? So that's one thing I do want to make clear. Also in the in the area, what's the word I'm looking for? In terms of transparency, right? In terms of transparency, my area is uh, in terms of coaching stroke mentoring, uh, positive, anything to do with positive psychology. So this means things like strengths, resilience, uh, um, in terms of, as I said, my own coaching program, which is around multicultural identity and self-confidence, things like imposter syndrome, where you might feel that as a woman, hey, I can do this thing, but oh my goodness, as a woman of color, I feel like a little bit like I can't fully step into that because people are going to think I'm somebody loud and angry, which is the trope that often comes out, whatever it might be, right? That's my wheelhouse. Like, because at the end of the day, we cannot change other people. We can change how we move and how we think about how we move through those spaces.